At Capital Diversity and Inclusion Consultants, we believe that together we can affect change through educating and informing the public on issues that cause or promote inequity and create disparities. It is our intent to share knowledge on a wide variety of topics to increase interest and inspire others to seek solutions that are inclusive and creative. We address these issues because they affect the lives of every race, culture, ethnicity, and gender everywhere. If we continue to ignore any of these issues, we are contributing to the systems that allow them to continue, whether intentional or not. We must learn to work together to make the changes we need for the world's success and our own. With this in mind, today we address childhood education. On a global scale, education has always been the driving force behind all human progress and social development. Education creates opportunity and increases equality, especially when girls get the same educational opportunities as boys. Education is the single most important tool we can use to improve the lives of people around the world. Education is one of the most valued assets a person can have, and is the one thing no one can take from you once you have it. Education is so important that people are willing to risk their lives for it. Do you know this girl? She is Malala Yousafzai, a young Pakistani girl who was determined to get an education, even after she and her father were threatened by Taliban terrorists. With her father's support, she continued going to school for 3 years after that threat, until the Taliban finally shot her in the head twice while she was on a bus headed to school. Her survival was a miracle, and it was one that ended her fear as well as garnering her global support while showing the world another side to the face of terrorism. When she later addressed the United Nations, she took aim at the terrorists who tried to prevent her and others from getting an education. She stated, "With guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism." In 2007, the Taliban took over her home region in the Swat Valley of Pakistan and banned girls from schools, dancing, and watching television. By 2008, the Taliban had destroyed 400 schools. Malala began blogging under a pen name to advocate for education rights. In 2011, she was awarded Pakistan's very first Youth National Peace Prize at the age of 14. A year later, she was shot by the Taliban. In 2013, she published her book, I Am Malala. In 2014, she won the Nobel Peace Prize at age 17 and started the Malala Fund for girls' education around the world. In America, all children aged 3 and over have access to a free, appropriate public education. But is it really free or appropriate? Free means there is no cost or tuition to attend, but it does not include things like transportation, food, or supplies necessary for a successful experience. Appropriate means that students will have access to the proper teaching and tools that will allow them to have the best chance for success. As you will see, in some areas, access and resources are extremely limited. Today, I will be discussing the needs of rural schools and students. These schools are primarily distant or remote rural districts where educational wealth gaps and disparities are the highest. These districts are 5 to 25 miles or more from urban areas and often have very low student populations due to their remote locations. Many of these are K-12 schools with fewer than 500 total students, and some with only 1 or 2 highly underpaid and overworked teachers. Let's look at some facts. 24% of public school students attend rural schools. Of those, 26.3% live below the poverty level. Mississippi has the highest percentage of poverty at 19.4% and therefore the greatest funding needs. Primary drivers of this inequity are per-student funding, which does not address individual student needs or district needs to remain compliant with structural needs and curriculum to be competitive for college entrance. Teacher retention. Rural schools tend to hire new, inexperienced people in these positions at the lowest wages, who then leave once they have a year or two experience under their belts and opt to seek employment in better paying districts. This creates high turnover rates and a lack of confidence in the education quality. And poverty, which is much higher in rural areas due to limited opportunities for employment and lower overall educations. It affects the number of available schools and transportation to them. Poverty causes higher dropout rates as older students opt to work and support their families rather than complete high school. And challenges? Academic performance, of course. Lower literacy rates because many students do not attend Head Start or pre-K programs. Lower performance can mean lower funding as well because some of these funds are tied to specific outcomes. Underfunding is such a problem that every lawmaker in the nation, whether at federal, state, or local level, must deal with this issue. Rural and other low-income districts need appropriate funds, even if they are not equal in per-student spending. Underfunding comes from limited revenue and resources, some of which are stripped from public schools because charter schools now compete for the same federal funding. And reforms. Per-student funding and funding based on average daily attendance ignores the needs of the students and of the schools. Rural schools need added funding to address infrastructure issues, to hire and retain quality teachers, to be able to provide for special needs students, and to remain competitive in the education they provide to the local community. Future policy discussions must be student-focused rather than district-focused and include language to build effective regional and statewide systems of support for improving low-performing and high-poverty schools that will address the unique needs of rural schools, often in remote regions. They must provide qualified, well-prepared, diverse teachers and staff at all schools to prepare students for life on a global scale. They must revise funding at all levels of government to provide adequate, efficient, and equitable resources. It should align with the needs of the students in every school in every district, not simply the number of students who attend a specific school. And it must address education deserts in rural areas and increase educational opportunities. For more information on education-related programs or to schedule a program for your group, workplace, or classroom, please contact Don Gagno, Director of Programming, at 916-912-3688 or at dgagnoncdic@gmail.com for rates, availability, and how to customize a program for your group's needs. Thank you.